Next, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a panel discussion on consumer business in Asia, and we have 4 speakers coming up to join us on stage. First is Narissa Limpanathorn. Narissa Limpanathorn is an expert in optimizing digital strategy and e-commerce experiences worldwide. She is currently marketing director B2B and B2C Thailand for Zilingo, a fashion commerce platform. Welcome to the stage. And next, I would like to introduce คุณวรชัด กขณาโรจน์ คุณวรชัด is currently responsible for overall business expansion for Grab Financial Services, driving growth through financial innovation and strengthen relationships with business partners in Thailand. The third speaker, Zhang. Jack is currently appointed as Deputy CEO of Lazada Thailand with expertise in e-commerce operation. Jack first joined Alibaba Group in 2015 and served as Strategic Director at B2B Group and then Director of the CEO Office and was later appointed Chief Operating Officer of Lazada Thailand back in early 2019. And lastly, the moderator of this session, Judith Balea. Judith Bailey is the Managing Editor of Tech in Asia, a Y Combinator alum and a leading media and events platform for Asia's startup community. Before that, she served as Business Editor of top Philippine media organizations, Rappler and ABS CBN Corp. So, Judith, let me pass the microphone to you.
Hi guys. Hope you guys are enjoying the conference so far. We're joined by 3 companies here that do not need introduction. They're among the biggest in Southeast Asia. And they're here to talk about their experience expanding in the region and acquiring users here. So let's jump right into it. When you guys were first starting out, establishing your footprint in the region, what were the biggest challenges that you encountered?
Okay. So the challenge in this market, right? Or the consumer trends, right? Okay. So Lazada has been the first e-commerce platform in Thailand and also in the Southeast Asia, right? So we have been in this market for 7 years to serving the local consumers. So in the past 7 years, we do see the consumer trend actually evolving very quickly. So for example, we look into the past 7 years, right? Especially like in Thailand, we see consumer actually more and more demanding than before. So in the past, actually consumer more looking for cost-effective products. But now consumer actually start to looking more for brand, more for good quality products. So then for us, then our challenge will be how we find the best assortment for the customer. And then to really ensure the customer can purchase the best assortment with the best price in the best way. And the second trend we see in this market, actually we see the channel is changing or evolving very quickly. So in the past, there's no e-commerce, no online, right? People 100% buy things offline. But actually in the past years, we see because online growing very quickly, so we see the omni-channel trend actually is changing very fast. So especially in the past few years, right? So we see consumer looking for the brands that are familiar in the offline, but it's offline to online. But actually in the recent years, especially in the past 12 months, we see actually more and more consumer or more and more brands actually launch things online. So it's from online to offline. So it's very interesting. The last trend we see like in this market, actually in the consumer, is customers spend a lot of time on the social medias. Customer. So in this market, Thailand, or generally speaking, in the Southeast Asia, is very socialized. So customer want to look into the live streaming, want to look into the video, want to engage with those like a KOL or the newest trend. So as an e-commerce platform or as a big, let's say, a leading digital company, how you fit its trend, serve the local market is very important. So that's why we launched the Lazada Last Live and in the past year. And so now actually we already accumulate more than 24 million unique viewers for our live streaming. And we catering the customers' needs and make them to more easy to social on the on an e-commerce platform. So this is the 3 trend we see from the e-commerce.
Narissa and Morashat, do you agree with the trends that Jack has observed in Southeast Asia. Are there other trends that you've seen in terms of consumer behavior?
I definitely agree with the social commerce, especially for Thailand. It's 40% social commerce. And what's different, or a really big trend here that everyone's apparent, is that instead of designing to make your mobile experience fit, you now have to develop mobile first. Because Southeast Asia alone comprises 10% of the internet usage of the world. So everyone's used to mobile first. So that's another trend that will just could keep going.
Warsha.
So I think for Grab is like a little bit different from Lazada and Zilingo because Grab is like the mobile only. There's the only channel for Grab, and for Grab, we're starting the business from transport, and then we grow the business to express, to food delivery, and then to financial. So I think our challenge for Grab when we go in different countries is more or less, number one is around regulation. So we have to make sure that we are aligned with the local regulation and laws to be able to operate our business. And once we expand to financial services, that even more strict in terms of how are we going to incorporate the local regulation into our business. That is number one. I think number two, since Grab is more of the offline service, but the customer have to go online in order to get an offline service. So it's more like an online to offline and then back to online again. So our customer behavior that we see is a little bit different. They are pretty demanding. A lot of customers will look into like when they search for a car, when they wanted to book for a food, they're demanding to get an order or get a car faster. And when they want to make a payment, they want to make sure that all of this is a seamless experience within our apps. So I think that there are a couple of things that we have to think about in terms of challenge for Grab. Another perspective that I'd like to highlight is around local context. Because when we expand the business into Bangkok is one thing, but when we expand to another province like in Chiang Mai or in Khon Kaen or in the south of Thailand, the content or the service or the feature that we are providing is supposed to be localized as well. That is just for Thailand, which is totally different from Singapore, or Malaysia, or Philippines, or Vietnam. So when we see how we expand the business into different markets, there's always a couple of things: regulation, localized context, and services that we are offering to the customers. Yeah.
Do you have anything to add?
I think that goes actually a step further of, you asked earlier, how can a new company or new country expand into Southeast Asia, right? The most important thing is knowing your local market, but that doesn't mean just pricing and currency and language. That means what's your customer behavior? What will work in maybe tier 1 and tier 2 cities might not work in major metropolitan cities. And understanding, do they want trendy clothes? What's the assortment they want going back to supply? Because that varies vastly from city to city, let alone country to country. And really understanding who your target audience is, putting the right thing in front of them at the right time is critical for Asia.
So you mentioned consumers in tier 2 cities versus those in metro areas. So how different are they? What are the biggest differences in terms of behavior?
Let me go first, but in different perspective. Because like Grab, like in Thailand, when we start the business in Bangkok, it's always about transport, ride-hailing. Then we grow to food. But then we grow outside of Bangkok, and actually in upcountry, most of the people already own some kind of transport. They already have like motorcycle, and in lots of provinces, most of people you own their own vehicle. So in different provinces, we grow the business through GrabFood. And in some provinces, we aim to grow the business through Grab Financial before the transport. So I think that the view of localize the contents for us is a key. That is why for Grab, our key strategy is to, we call it a hyper-local customer-centric. So not just customer-centric, but also hyper-local, and really take a look into what kind of service or what kind of feature that the people in that area are looking for. So I think that would be some context around for Grab. Yeah.
Okay. So maybe we can add on to it. And maybe my angle would be from the commercial perspective, right? From the e-commerce perspective. And actually, we do see there's a big difference, between the Bangkok and let's say the tier 2 cities in the Thailand. So one of the biggest difference actually is driven by the traditional retail. Because if you look into the Bangkok, right? So basically, you have most of the higher tiers shopping mall. You have the department store. You have a wholesale market. You also have the night market. So you have all kinds of the brands and all kinds of the price range products. But if you go to the lower tier cities, and actually, generally speaking, the traditional retail is not as that strong as the Bangkok. So the choices with assortment for the local customer actually is limited. So actually, this is actually one of we find like our key strengths for the Lazada. So when we serving the lower tier city customers, they can see whatever the product they can see on the platform, exactly the same as the Bangkok customer. So they can choose global brands, they can choose local brands, they can buy cost-effective or lower price products. So we enable the lower tier customers to access to the broader brands and assortment choices. So this is we found out actually one of the key differentiators actually we have in this market. Yeah, so this is a very unique and very interesting things.
So what are the challenges of acquiring users in the tier 2 cities? Like, I would assume that the basket sizes are smaller, right? So how do you acquire those users?
Sure. So actually for us, right, we do have the traditional customer acquisitions, right? For example, the online marketings, or let's say the offline events, right? But for us, the most important thing we do actually is to provide the best services. For example, what's the best assortment you have? And then how you use the personalized technology show to the customer. And then after customer place the order, how we can deliver the parcel to the customer in a very timely manner. So when you have the best service, best assortment, and the best, let's say, logistic services, and actually customer will come. So the word of mouth is more important in terms of especially in the lower tier spread out customer acquisitions. We find this is more effective.
And how do you guys retain those users? So the key, when you acquire them, the key is to, just make them do that first purchase, right? And then you acquire them. But how do you retain them? I mean, from the perspective of Lazada, Grab, and maybe Zilingo also has something to add on user retention.
I'll go first then. So I think just touch a little bit on acquiring a new customer, right? So I think the key thing for Grab, our vision is to become an everything app. So our strategy is to add more use cases to acquire the customer. Because again, if you're only focusing on transport, then we only capture one segment. So once we open up our new business to Grab Food, then we're growing more and more customer, and we acquire new customer to Grab Food. Then in the near future, when we start the financial services, then we believe that we can also acquire the customer through Grab Financial and also through Grab Rewards, which is another business unit under the Grab Financial Group. So for us to acquire the customer is really depending on the use cases. What kind of use case that really relevant to the customer for their everyday life. Another angle just to add on, because for Grab it's more on demand and supply. In order to have a really good experience on Grab Food, we need a lot of food merchant. There will be a demand on the new merchant, especially on the kind of like old town food merchant, street food merchant that is very popular. But most of the consumer may find it pretty difficult to get there and go there and having a food there. So what we're trying to do is to add those kind of supply to meet the demand for the consumer. That is a two-way that we see for acquiring. In terms of retention, I think we are invest heavily on our platform to introduce the Grab Rewards. So every transaction that the customer use or spend on our platform, they earn rewards. And all of those rewards can be redeemed to particular items or even redeemed back to the service that they like. For example, like free delivery of food or free rides. So that would be like a whole ecosystem for Grab in terms of acquiring and retention.
Okay. Yes.
So Zilingo is a little different in terms of, yes, we're a marketplace, but we also, our focus for the next few years is B2B. And that's because we're a very merchant-focused company, in addition to being a marketplace. So that's where we actually see the future of a seller, or the future of consumer behavior or e-commerce behavior in Southeast Asia in the next couple of years would be focusing on a more B2B aspect of saying, for Zilingo specifically, it started in Bangkok as a marketplace when it started in Chatuchak. And then from there we looked at what are the problems of a seller so that we can better know our customer. But we need to make sure our seller and our merchants are happy and we're solving those problems so they can better solve their customer. Because at the end of the day, they're owning that relationship. But the relationship between the merchant and us is where we really care about. So we looked at, okay, for B2B, their two problems are financial capital to expand as well as sourcing. So that's how we solve for that. We have Zilingo Asia Mall, which unlocks supply for upcountry or tier 1 and tier 2 cities, actually across the globe. So that's what we're trying to do, and what's important to Zilingo is making sure the whole global fashion supply chain is accessible from anyone, whether they're in Chiang Mai or in Indonesia or in the Philippines. Can they get sourcing from India or Thailand or anywhere else in the world? We really want to level the playing field. So it's just accessible for all SMEs. In the previous presentation, they said 3 million SMEs in Thailand alone. And we're really trying to unlock those opportunities for everyone.
Yeah. Okay, so it makes sense, right? To drive demand, you should build the supply. So for Lazada, what are you guys doing to help merchants sell and also adapt to the changes in consumer behavior? Because you mentioned that, people, shoppers now, they want more entertainment when they shop. So how are you helping sellers in that area?
Sure. So this is a good question. I think we do a few things, right? So number one, we leverage the tech knowledge. So we try to be more personalized. So internally we call it the 1,000 people, 1,000 Lazada. So basically everyone open a Lazada, they see the different app. They see a different assortment. If you are a man, you may see more mobile phone or gadget things. If you are a woman, if you like the fashion, you may see more fashion products or the beauty products. So by using the personalized tech knowledge, so we can be more precisely to provide the assortment that the customer like. So that's actually can drive the demand. Right. Second, what we do is we do the social things, right? So we have the live streaming. We have the last game. We also have the install, which focus on the social sellers. So by using all those social tools, and actually we create the demand. And actually customer will feel more engaging and more interesting. And then during that time, customer actually will be more nature, want to shopping. And sourcing, what we do is actually we provided more localized and more, let's say, local events. For example, we have the local 99 events, which we don't have in the other countries. We only have like in Thailand. We also have our local birthday, which is all online campaigns. The last, we also have the offline events, right? So we went to a lot of like offline space, offline site to work with our merchants, to work with our sellers, and to design a dedicated themes. So by doing all those three things, and actually we create the rather balanced supply and the demand ecosystems. And also beyond the selling, beyond the purchasing, we also have ecosystems like live streaming, last game, install. So this is what we're creating in here.
Narisa, you mentioned financial services a while ago. So how important is access to financial services for sellers?
Yeah, so that's one of our pillars of our B2B services for Zilingo is one financial services, meaning advanced payouts for sellers. So they can have enough capital to expand without waiting for revenue to come in. We also have buy now, pay later. So that's just one aspect of what Zilingo does. We also have software as a service, where we've actually looked at a lot of factories around the world and noticed that a lot of them don't have access to technology that can show them how to produce more efficiently. So we found that they were still writing on whiteboards, producing thousands, hundreds of thousands, and writing it all by hand. So we outfit them with this technology. We also have marketing as a service where we really want the seller to be kind of platform agnostic in a way, meaning if you want to sell on Lazada, you should be able to. You want to sell offline at the market or at the BTS stop, you can. By using us, if you want to kind of pick, maybe you don't have enough time to do catalog shoots, we could do that for you. It's just a way to really take the pressure off of the seller to focus on aspects that they're really good at or lean on us to help in any way.
Warashat, do you have anything to add? Because you guys are doing a lot on fintech as well.
Yeah. So just to touch on the financial services, right? I'll talk in two parts. So the first part is on our user side or the passenger side. In every country now, we enable GrabPay as a key infrastructure within the app for the customer to making a seamless payment, which has helped a lot in terms of reducing cash handling for our driver, for our merchant, increase the speed to the service so that nobody have to handling all the change and everything. And for the country like Singapore and Malaysia, we also enable the so-called product, so-called pay later, meaning that the customer can use our service and then they pay it at month end. So that is some of the financial services that we embedded into the apps. For Thailand, the pay later for the user side will be introducing very soon. Another side of the story, which is most of the consumer never know, is all the financial services that we are offering to the driver and to the merchant. So for all the driver that are partner for Grabs, all of them we get a free personal accident insurance so that they can be have a peace of mind when they go into the street driving and getting more income for the family. And also we offering the sales finance for the smartphone financing program so that they can have a better tools, a better smartphone in order to get a better GPS signal and then getting more and more order or more and more trip with the customer. And also another success story that we launched is the Grab Financial for Lending. So we are providing a lending service to our driver to upgrade their car so that they can become, getting more jobs and getting more income. And, like for example, in Singapore, we are doing the leasing for our Grab car so that the Grab taxi driver can upgrade their car into the premium one and then earn more fare. So this kind of financial services is enable our partners and our micro entrepreneur that Grab is serving to getting more and more income and better life. So all of this is the pattern that we're starting in Malaysia, in Singapore, in Indonesia, and now soon to come and launch it in Thailand. So that would be some of the financial services that we see. So in short, we are not competing with the banks. We are actually partnering up with the banks. In every country, we have a local partner bank. Here, we are partnered with Kasikorn Bank to do a lot of stuff around financial service. But the way that we launching the service is something that only Grab can offer it. Like for example, we recently launched the Grab Insure in Malaysia. So we issue like millions of insurance policy to all the driver, and also all the driver can also purchase the healthcare insurance for their family, and they only pay like less than $1 a day, and get the cover for their family. That is the way that we are launching our financial services, and actually it's really helped our partners to having a better life. Yeah.
So you mentioned consumers using digital wallets, GrabPay more and more. Are you seeing this on Lazada as well, or are you guys still predominantly cash based?
This actually, we do see the similar trends, right? We do see the very similar trends. So in the very beginning, right? So we see in Thailand, or generally speaking in Southeast Asia, we call the COD, cash on deliver, it's very high. But now, like with the years, evolving, we see more and more customer to use the e-wallet to pay, right? We use the customer to use the more advanced financial methods to pay, right? So this is definitely the trend in here, right? It's definitely Lazada also have Lazada wallet. Right? We do have our own wallet. We also working very similar to the Grab. We also working with the local leading banks and our leading local partners and local wallet, to provide the financial solutions to the customer.
Okay, so now let's talk about the future. Like, what do you think? How will consumer behavior further evolve in the region? And then, for your part, for Zilingo's part, like, what's your vision for small business sellers?
Future customer trends, right? I think customer definitely will be more and more demanding. Customer is never will be satisfied, right? They always will be, the requirement will be higher and higher. So in the past, right? So we deliver 3 to 5 days the parcel to the customer hands. Now it's already like 2 to 3 days. In Bangkok, we can do next days, right? So I will imagine in the 1 or 2 years later, probably will be the same day, right? Will be majority will be the next day. And customer will be more and more, let's say, want to be innovative things, right? They want to see from the assortment, they want to see the new assortment. They want to see the different assortment. They want to see the assortment even from the global, maybe from US, Japan, China, or the other countries, what the leading interesting assortment. And then last, right, so customer will also be more and more care on the customer services, right? So it's the challenge for, I think, not only for the Lazada, but also for all the digital companies, but also it's our commitment, in here. Yes.
So for Grab, one of the future trend, and actually I'm starting to see this trend, is the cross-border kind of behavior for Southeast Asian people. Especially for Grab, we operate in 8 countries. I think the key thing is that how are we going to enable the cross-border kind of experience in Southeast Asia in a better way. Now the customer can get a car for the transport. They can order food, but then there's still some barrier on how we're going to enable the financial services in a cross-border way. For example, when we travel to Malaysia or Singapore and we want to get a car, how can we use a Thai wallet to make a purchase or to make a payment? And vice versa for the customer from Singapore when they travel to Thailand, Malaysia travel to Thailand, and they want to make a payment through our app. That is something that we're trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I was recently in Indonesia.
Yes.
I couldn't use GrabPay there.
Yes.
So I'm based in Manila, right? When I flew
Yes.
to Indonesia, I was trying to
Yes,
book. But
because when you touch on financial service, most of the time you have to stick to the regulation of different country. For example, if I travel to Malaysia recently, when I just at the airport, I want to order for a car. I want to get my car to the hotel, and then I can't use the Thai wallet. Then I have to do another KYC to enable the Malaysian version of GrabPay wallet. That is still the friction that we are trying to solve to enable the cross-border transaction to be more seamless. And I think that is the big area. The one thing that we already implemented is to provide the Grab service to the Chinese tourists by we are enabling our Grab feature into Alipay app. So that when the Chinese tourists, when they come to Thailand, they want to get a car and they cannot communicate with Thai driver. So that when they want to have a car, a good one, a good service and transparent pricing, they can use it through Alipay. So that is something that we're trying to solve, and I believe cross-border is going to be a big trend in the future. Yeah.
Narisa.
I see for sellers at least, them not being tied down to one platform, of not having restrictions of country or location or platforms because they're more independent or have access to more features or services. So I think they'll be unlocking a lot more demand than what they're used to, as well as more social channels. It's evolving now more than just Instagram or Facebook. Now it's how do I market through Line or these new emerging technologies. Who knows, maybe TikTok and the other things that haven't even been developed yet of how that will be used. And I think what's really important is the customer experience. That's going to evolve, whether that's cashless, whether it's a new form of technology, whether that's personalization, saying before I even know that I need to buy it, I'm reminded of that, and the seller owning that experience. And then also the blurring the lines of O2O, online to offline, is definitely going to get more blurred of how do I reach the customer at all different touch points and competing against all the saturation that's in the market.
Okay, so I guess to close this session, because we only have a few minutes, maybe you guys have some practical advice that you can give to our audience. Maybe there are founders there who want to expand across Southeast Asia. So key takeaways for them.
Okay. Advice, well, it's hard to say advice, but I think just some like observations or our learnings, right? I think when people want to talk about Southeast Asia, never treat Southeast Asia as one, right? Southeast Asia actually have many different countries. Every market actually are very different. Every market is quite unique. Regulation is different, right? Like local population structure is different. Let's say the people, consumers' behavior is also very different. So when want to expand in Southeast Asia, the first our learning is has to be localized, right? You have to understand local customer needs, local customer behavior, and the local regulations. So that's why Lazada actually, even we cover the whole Southeast Asia regions, but actually in every country, the way we're doing our business is very, very different. And I think second advice is like Southeast Asia expanding very quickly, right? So for example, many brands when they come into they want to expand in the Southeast Asia. So for Lazada, actually we're really worrying, to welcome more brands, to come into the Lazada, and so we can support those new brands, new entrepreneurs, and new sellers to grow, right? And last, I think, is in this market, the changing is the only constant. So we don't have a winning formula. You have to really changing every day. So don't stay there just as it is. You have to always evolving or sometimes pushing yourself out of your comfortable zone to change. Yeah.
Touching on that, so I would say a practical tip is everyone talks about big data. That's the hot topic, right? Big data, collect all this data. The most important thing I could say is data utilization and what you do with that data is going to be the driving feature, one of the driving proponents on if you can succeed, because you're listening to your customer, your merchant, and you're deciding and you're changing with them. Just like he said, is that you need to always be changing and listening and evolving with them to stay ahead of the curve. And the way you do that is by looking at what the audience and what your customer, your seller is saying.
Just to add on top, I think two key tips. I think number one, do your homework. By what I mean do your homework is that you have to really understand the customer and do not take it like a macro view. You have to really see it as a micro view. For example, like for Grab, we really do a lot of research when we go into different provinces to offer new service. We do a lot of study and research when we want to introducing a new service, a new feature to our user. And because of that, because of a lot of learning, a lot of study, a lot of research, then when you launch new service, you will see a huge growth on your new product or services. The second one, work with regulators. The only key things for you to be, especially for financial services, is to work closely with the regulator so that you know ahead on what kind of thing that you can do and what kind of thing that you cannot do. Because in the financial world, it is very important to having a good compliance and a good alignment with the regulators. That would be two key takeaways that I would like to share.
So I'm just curious because you always mention change, how consumers are getting more and more demanding. This is the final question. Like, what does that mean for your business in terms of acquisition costs, retention costs?
It means a lot, actually. So it means, number one, we cannot stop, right? So we have to, let's say, closely look into this market but also even foresee what's the potential trends, right? Sometimes we have to, even let's say we already as the leading platform in here, but we have to push ourselves to think, oh, what you can do more? What's the potential next movements? What's the potential next big things, right? So that's why actually last year when we came into this market, actually there's no e-commerce live streaming. So Lazada became the first platform doing the live streaming because we noticed that potentially can be the future trend, right? So we launched it. Now we also launched the last game within the Lazada. All those like social engagement tools together, we create the trends. Right now, we also forecast, we believe the logistic, because the customer logistic will be more and more important. Customer will be more and more demanding on the delivery times. So that's why we also strengthen our local network, so on and so forth, right? So you have to really push yourself out of the zone, out of the comfortable zone to think about what's the next.
So as far as Lazada is concerned, you guys are investing in these things, investing in growth. Are you looking at profitability? Is that something that you're?
I think this is actually very simple answer, right? So we don't pursue profitability. We pursue how we serve the local customer better. So like our experience in China, right? So because we belong to the Alibaba groups, right? So we don't, like you look into the Taobao, we're not pursuing the profitable, but we pursuing how we serve the customer. So when we're doing that, so we put the customer first, really as the first principle. Your business we're growing tremendously. When business growing tremendously, you will become profitable in one day, and you will become really profitable.
Okay, so I think that closes this panel. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us today. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all of our panelists. Thank you to Kun Narissa, Kun Warachat, Kun Jack, Kun Judith. Thank you. Thank you. Very nice.